When people ask me about Michael Jackson's plastic surgery, I usually pause before answering. Not because the question is offensive, but because it's incomplete. It asks what he changed, but not why. And with Michael, the why matters far more than the scalpel. So today, I don't want to speak as a gossip commentator or a tabloid analyst. I want to speak as a physician who has spent decades listening to patients talk about shame, identity, and the quiet fear of not being enough. And I want to speak as someone who believes Michael Jackson was, above all else, deeply human. Before the surgery, the insecurity was already there. Long before Michael ever lay down on an operating table, the wounds had already formed. As a child, he grew up under intense scrutiny, on stage, under bright lights, in front of millions. But the harshest spotlight came from much closer. He spoke openly about his father criticizing his appearance, especially his nose. That kind of comment, repeated during childhood, does something permanent to the mind. As doctors, we know this pattern well. When a patient fixates on a feature, it's rarely about vanity. It's about memory. Every time Michael looked in the mirror, he wasn't just seeing his face. He was hearing old voices. And if I'm honest, many of my patients carry the same invisible echoes. The nose more than a cosmetic choice. Yes, Michael Jackson had rhinoplasty more than once. But from a medical perspective, this wasn't unusual in trajectory, only in visibility. The first surgery reportedly followed a nasal injury. But after that, revisions happened. Here's something the public rarely understands. Once the nose is altered, the structural integrity changes. Each additional surgery becomes more complex, more fragile, and more risky. But psychologically, revision surgery often signals something else. Not satisfaction, but hope. Hope that this version will finally silence the discomfort inside. Patients often say things like, "Just one more adjustment. I'll stop after this." Michael's case fits this emotional pattern precisely. Vitiligo and the cruel misunderstanding. One of the most painful myths about Michael Jackson is that he wanted to be white. As a doctor, I must be clear, Michael Jackson had vitiligo, a medically recognized autoimmune condition that destroys pigment cells. Vitiligo doesn't just change skin color, it changes how the world treats you. Patients with vitiligo often experience staring, accusations, shame, loss of identity. In Michael's case, the condition progressed visibly under global observation. To manage the uneven pigmentation, he used medical depigmentation treatments. This was not cosmetic fantasy, it was dermatological management. Yet instead of empathy, he received mockery. I often wonder how different the conversation would have been if the public had understood this earlier. When fame amplifies insecurity. Here's something we discuss in medical ethics seminars. Fame does not protect against insecurity, it magnifies it. Michael lived in a world where every photo was analyzed, every change was questioned, every silence became suspicion. Most patients get to heal privately. Michael healed or tried to on magazine covers, and insecurity thrives on isolation. When you stop trusting mirrors because millions are holding them up for you, the sense of self becomes unstable. From a physician's perspective, this is when cosmetic procedures stop being about appearance and start becoming about control. If you can't control how the world sees you, maybe you can control what they see. The emotional cost of repeated surgery. Surgery leaves scars, not just on the skin. Repeated procedures can reinforce a belief, I am a problem that needs fixing. That belief is far more dangerous than any incision. Michael spoke often about wanting to disappear, to transform, to become something softer, gentler, less threatening. That tells me something important. He wasn't chasing perfection. He was chasing safety. As doctors, we're trained to recognize when a patient is seeking surgery to soothe emotional pain. Today, we have better psychological screening. Back then, especially for someone as powerful and wealthy as Michael, boundaries were harder to enforce. Loving Michael means seeing the whole picture. It's easy to reduce Michael Jackson to headlines, too much surgery, unrecognizable, obsessed with his looks. But that's not a diagnosis, that's a dismissal. A more accurate medical narrative would say, this was a man shaped by childhood criticism, chronic illness, global pressure, and profound loneliness, trying to feel comfortable in his own skin. And despite everything, he remained gentle. He spoke softly, he loved children fiercely, he created beauty from pain. Those are not the traits of a narcissist. They're the traits of someone deeply sensitive. The Mirror Revisited. If I could sit across from Michael today, not as a surgeon, but as a fellow human, I wouldn't talk about procedures or percentages, and I'd simply say, I see you. I see the boy who was told he wasn't enough. I see the man who tried so hard to be safe. And I see the artist who gave the world everything, even when it broke him. Maybe it's time we finally saw him too. Not through judgment, but through love. This film is dedicated to understanding, not erasing the pain. Because Michael Jackson deserves to be seen fully, finally.